Good morning. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Meredith Phillips, and this is going to be an exciting weekend for me because I have planned my DIY writing retreat / writing conference for myself. So I'm really excited to get started. It's about 8:15 in the morning at the moment, and I am getting ready for my first live stream that I've done since NaNoWriMo. So it's been a minute. I'm a little nervous, but that's going to be my big kickoff and, a solid 2-hour chunk of time to get some writing work done. I've been really looking forward to this weekend. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I'm planning to do, obviously, writing work, but I'm also planning to do some activities that'll hopefully encourage me or motivate me or inspire me or give me new writing tips and techniques or things to think about and all that kind of stuff. So if you missed my video about the plan for this weekend and like the different things I'm planning and the schedule and all that kind of stuff, I'll link that below. But yeah, this is the weekend. So I'm ready to get started as soon as it's 8:30 and my live stream goes live. I'm taking a little bit of a chance here. Both of the dogs are still just out. I haven't put Jade up. Previously, I had put her in her bed just so that she wasn't like messing or, I don't know, getting in the way in the middle of a live stream. But recently she's been doing pretty well with just sort of settling down and not bothering. So I'm hoping that she makes that kind of a decision this morning. So they're both just sort of chilling. They both look kind of sleepy, so I'm hoping that she'll just pick a spot to settle down and I won't have to worry about her in the middle of this live stream. If you missed my mega vlogs from last week, which I don't blame you if you did, they were ridiculously long. But if you missed the writing updates in there, just a real quick recap, I did finish my reverse outline. I finished taking notes on sort of like the things I want to change or add or move around or whatever. And I worked my way through chapter 1 and fixing things in chapter 1 as best I could at this point in time. So my plan, at least for this first session, is to start on chapter 2 and work through that, adding in, deleting, changing, all that kind of stuff to hopefully make it a stronger chapter. Chapter 1 was A, long, and B, I had a ton of notes for chapter 1. So it took me 2 days, I think, to go through it, and then I went through it again, doing different changes and all that. Chapter 2 is shorter, and I don't have as much notes for it. So I'm assuming it'll take me less time. Who knows, though? I'd like to be done with chapter 2 stuff, revisions, during this first live stream. It's a 2-hour live stream, so that should be at least a good chunk of time. I should get at least a good part of the way through it. Then we'll go from there. So I don't really have a major goal necessarily in terms of where I want to be by the end of the weekend. I just want to be making forward progress, you know? I am going to try splitting this weekend's vlogs into 2 videos. So you're going to get Saturday's adventures today, and then you'll see Sunday's work on Friday. So I hope that makes sense and flows well. We'll see. For now, I've only got about 7 minutes left before it's time to go live, so I'm gonna switch this off and sort of set the camera up somewhere else and get ready for this live stream. So I'll check in with you in a little bit. Woohoo! 2-hour live stream almost. It was like 1 hour and 53 minutes, but close enough. That was a good live stream. Thank you guys if you were able to come out and hang out and write with me or work with me. Thank you so much. It was a very productive session for me. I was not nervous, but just a little like, I hope I'm awake enough to get some work done. And I did. I got through a bunch of stuff, way more than I was thinking I would. I finished up chapter 2 pretty quickly. It was not as involved as I thought it was going to be. I moved on to chapter 3, and like I said in the live stream, if you were there, chapter 3 has, it's not quite an info dump. Like, I do think the information was worked in to the chapter without it being just like a huge dump from one of the characters. But I think the information that is shared in chapter 3 is too much. You learn too much about the backstory for this other character. And I think it would be better if it was sprinkled a little more throughout subsequent chapters. So anyway, I revised chapter 3 so that hopefully as the reader you will feel compelled to keep reading, so you will find out a little more about this character, because he only shares a little bit now instead of like his whole life story. So yeah, I'm happy with that. The information I took out of chapter 3, I'm not sure yet where it should go. I just know it shouldn't go in chapter 3. So I obviously not done quite with all that yet, but I got a good chunk done. So that's excellent. Excellent work for me in my first little writing session here of my retreat time. For the moment, I need to kind of stand up and stretch for a minute. The next thing on my list is a little reading. But let me take my little quick, just a few minutes break here, and I'll be back with that in a second. So like I said, the next thing on my list is a little bit of reading. It's supposed to be a 30-minute little reading session. I did have to take some time to change out the blankets in Crispin's area and clean him up a little bit. So I did that real quick, and now I'm sitting down. I only have about 20 minutes left to do this until the next thing is supposed to start. But I'm gonna just read my fiction book that I've started. I started this book last week. I don't remember when I started it. It's Heartless by Mary Balog. You guys know that's like my favorite historical romance author. This is one of her older titles. I think this book came out in like 97, something like that. It's a little old, and I've read a very small handful of her like really older stuff from like the 90s or earlier. She started writing in like the late 80s, and I partly wanted to read this just because I enjoyed Mary Balog and I had it on my list, and it was like, well, look, this looks good. But I also was interested in seeing, you know, how does her older books compare to her newer stuff. And it's been really interesting reading this because on like an individual sentence and paragraph level, it's so clearly her work. Like, it still has that beautiful prose that I love from her, very atmospheric, and she's still, even though this is like 20 some years old, 25 years old, she's still trying really hard to make it historically accurate and putting in a lot of little details that make it feel very authentic and real, which I love. So overall, I am very much enjoying this, but it is interesting to see how her characters have, I think, improved over time, and how they've also stayed the same. I'm not very far into it. I'm only about 20% of the way through it at this point. The main character, I think, is a little flat. She's interesting. She doesn't, again, like, I'm not like super far into this, so maybe more of her personality will come out as I go. I don't find her particularly compelling though. The one thing that I really do love that she does in a lot of her books is the main male character is very much not your typical romance book hero. Anyone who thinks of romance novels, they're thinking of like the Fabio covers, a big strong muscle guy like this, and she very rarely has that kind of stereotypical male character as the hero in her books. So like the main character in this book has lived in Paris for 10 years. He's described as being very short and thin and a little effeminate. Like, he has a fan, he wears like rouge and stuff like they did in Paris at the time to be fashionable. So he's not your typical hero guy, and I like that. I think it's just different and interesting, and she still makes him appealing. She still makes him someone you want to know better and who you're rooting for in the story and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm enjoying the book so far, and I had gotten to a good part last night, but I was so tired I was like, I gotta go to bed. So I'm gonna try to finish up this chapter maybe in the next 15 or 20 minutes, and then we'll be on to the next thing on my list. So, reading time. Okay, that was fun. I don't normally get to read in the middle of the day, so that was nice. It's about 11 o'clock now, and I'm going to move into one of the more like writing conference aspects of the weekend, and I'm going to listen to one of the interviews that I found. I looked on YouTube and just found interviews with some of my favorite authors and like panel discussions with some of them. So I have a whole slew of them I can pick from. I'm going to pick one that's around an hour long, and this is supposed to of course simulate like a writing conference. You're going to have speakers and that sort of thing. So I don't know which one I'm going to pick quite yet, but I'm going to take a look at the list and pick one. And I think what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to take my iPad and grab like a notebook and go into our living room and sit out there, get comfy, relax, and watch one of them, and hopefully take some notes if there's anything particularly interesting that stands out to me, and I'll share those little tidbits with you when I'm done. So let's go. Oh my gosh. Wow, look at this incredibly comfortable space I have. Okay, I've got my iPad here. I don't know which one I want to watch yet. I put them all in a private playlist on for me on my YouTube channel. I'll link below. Well, you know what? I'll make it public so you guys, if you want to see the videos I was looking at or considering watching, I'll link them below in case you're interested. But yeah, I've got an interview with Mary Balog. I've got an interview with Lisa Kleypas and Eloisa James. So, and then it's just some other ones about like writing rom-coms or things like that. So yeah, let me figure out which one I want to watch, and then I'll get started watching it. Okay, I'm opting for this one to start with, partly because it is under an hour and it's already like 11:15, so I don't want this to bump into my lunchtime too much. So I've got my notebook and I'm gonna listen to see what these ladies have to say. This is like an all-star panel here. It's Catherine Ash, Lisa Kleypas, Beverly Jenkins, Alicia Rye, Alyssa Cole, and Ron Hogan doing this like panel discussion. So I'll see what I think. All right, I'm finished with that. It was good. This was the kind of panel discussion that just makes you excited to write. It's not like they were sharing tips and tricks necessarily. It was a little more like their take on the current romance genre market, which was really interesting. Beverly Jenkins is hilarious. I don't think I've ever watched like a lengthy interview with her before, and she was really funny. I feel so dumb. I've never read one of her books before. And she's on my list. There's a lot on my list. And it's just, I don't know, it just sort of affirmed some of the things that I've found to be true in reading in the genre. Like they were saying in the panel, a lot of people assume a lot of very false things about the romance genre, and they've either never read a romance book ever, and they're just making wild assumptions based on things they think they know or think they've been told, or they have read romance books from like 20 or 30 years ago, and the genre is really different. The books being written today are not the books that were coming out in the 70s or 80s or 90s, really. They've changed and evolved a lot in the last 2 decades. And so anyway, it was good, and now it's afternoon. It's 12:15, and I need to get some lunch. So I'm going to take a little break, eat some lunch. I was going to try to watch the next episode of Bridgerton because I haven't been able to watch. I need to finish up that second season. I forget what episode I was on. I think I only had like 4 episodes left. I was about halfway through it, I think. I don't have a lot of time. Let me get some food in the oven and take a little break, stretch a little bit, and then enjoy my lunch. What you doing? You just being a good boy. Are you cozy? You want to come inside? He's been out here for like an hour just chilling. You ready to go inside? Come on. Let's go inside. Yeah, you ready. Okay. All right, lunchtime is over. I need to sit down and get started on writing again. I'll have a 2-hour block of writing time between like 1 and 3, and then we'll jump back into more of the like video writing conference kind of stuff. I'm gonna situate myself over here. I have a new glass of water and I'll get going. All right, so during the first writing stuff earlier in the day, I'd finished up chapter 3 for the time being at least. I think what I need to do is something I really don't want to do, but I'm feeling like, I feel like I need to do this sooner rather than later, and that is to get a better idea of the timeline sort of the calendar of this story, because it does sort of jump all over the place and I don't know when things are taking place. And yeah, I feel like I really need to nail that down, or at least get a better idea of where things are fitting. I think what I'm going to do is get some blank calendar templates, print them out, and then just sort of start placing events on the calendar and seeing where they fit or how things should fit. So yeah, let me find a calendar template and then get to work on that. I guess it's a little more arts and crafts time than I was anticipating, but what my plan is, I'm going to write the event on a sticky note, probably cut it in half so it'll fit on this grid of calendar squares, and then I'll be able to move these around if I need to, because if I write it in pencil, then I'm just going to be erasing and rewriting and erasing and rewriting a bunch probably. So let me go through everything and get a bunch of these little sticky notes filled in. So that was pretty successful, actually. This was very helpful. It took me about 40 minutes, I think, to put all this together, but this lays it out really well. There's a few things I might need to move around. We'll see. I think this is good to use, at least for the moment. Now I just need to figure out, there's three, this takes place, I guess, over the course of 3 months, according to this calendar layout. So I need to figure out what these months are, make sure it still works with all of the details in the story. I think it'll work if I make month 1 February. I think. Let me look up temperatures in upstate New York in March. Alright, but this is looking good so far. Okay, actually, after further research, basically there's one portion where they go to upstate New York, and it needs to still be cold enough that there's snow on the ground. So, in order for that to be, like, realistic, I mean, there could be snow on the ground at the end of March, but it's much more likely that it'll be there at the end of February, which is when this thing is happening. That means month 1 needs to be January, which I think should still be okay. It can be like beginning of the year, people coming back from holiday time off and that kind of thing. I think that should work. Let me sort of just do a little timeline write up in my Scrivener document for this. I will keep this physical calendar, so if I want to move stuff around later, it'll be easy to just sort of visualize it. That took a stupidly long time. I was trying to find like a calendar template that would copy into Scrivener easily, couldn't find one. Then I was like, I'll just do a table. That was messing up. I've never had this much trouble in Scrivener, like trying to organize something before. I finally got it in here, so I've got all the dates and everything. I found a few things I needed to move around, and I did that. It's about 2:45 at the moment. I don't really want to start anything else because I really only have like 15 minutes at the moment. So I think I'm gonna stand up and stretch and just kind of like move around for a few minutes, and then at 3 we will be back to author interview conference style of, video watching and hopefully learning or being inspired. I think for this next video, I'll probably watch the one video that I have saved that is really the video that made me think of this whole idea in the first place. So yeah, I'm excited to get to watch it finally. I've been waiting to watch this video since like March. So let me stand up, stretch a little bit, and we'll get to the video watching here in a little bit. Look at those doggies out there. They love going and sitting in the middle of the yard like that, right in the direct sunlight when it's like 90 degrees outside. But they just sit there and sun themselves. They're crazy. But they enjoy it. How many times can I mention Mary Balog in one vlog? A lot, I guess. Anyway, this is an interview from last year, and it is with Mary Balog. She's being interviewed by some lady at a library. This was posted in a fan group that I'm a part of on Facebook. I saw it back in March and I was like, ooh, this looks so good. I want to watch it, but it's an hour and 10 minutes. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's like the length of a, speaker at a conference. And then I was like, oh, what if? And then I had all these ideas. So anyway, I'm really excited to get to watch this. I love listening to her. She's from Wales, and so she lives in Canada now, but she still has a lot of the accent, and so she just has this very lyrical way of speaking that's just very pleasant to listen to. But she always has just really lovely things to say about writing or about writing in historical romance books, and just a lot of different things. She's been in the industry for decades, so she knows what she's doing and she knows what she's talking about. Hopefully I'll get some fun tidbits, writing process help. I don't know. It's just a interview with her. So looking forward to it. Let's go. Let's start watching.
Yes, I wanted to write my own sort of books. I wanted to write Regency books that were in the tradition of a Regency, with all the atmosphere and sense of romance that comes from them. But at the same time, I wanted them to be real. I didn't want them to be fluff.
All right, it is about 4:30. I finished the interview with Mary Balog. It was very good. It was mainly centered on asking questions about like her books. It was fun for me as a reader of her books, to hear her talk about the different series and the different characters and stuff like that. She seems like she's very much a pantser because she did get a few questions about like her writing process and, do you write things down? And like, she doesn't at all. she just sort of writes what comes to her head, which is, I think it's always interesting to hear how people do it because it's always so different. One of the things that I adore about her books is how incredibly rich her characters are. And I think even if you don't like romance or you're not really interested in that genre, I would highly recommend reading one of her books just to get a taste of how she writes her characters. And I was very glad somebody asked a question about the characters and how do you make these characters so beautifully real. And she said she does spend a lot of time trying to get to know them, and she said there's one question she asks the character to really get to the depths of them. And she said the question she asks is, where's your deepest pain? Where is your deepest pain? And she said when she can answer that question about a character, it's like she kind of is able to unlock them. And I thought that's a really good question to ask. So maybe if you're struggling to figure out your characters, that's something you can ask them and be able to dig a little deeper into them. So like I said, it is about 4:30. I don't really have enough time to watch a whole other interview or panel discussion, so I'll probably just cut this a little bit short for today. I was going to go until 5 o'clock, but 30 minutes early, I'm not going to worry too much about that. I'm really happy with the amount of work I got done today, both on my writing, and I love watching these interviews and just hearing other people talk about writing in general or the romance genre. It's just encouraging and motivating. Good day one for my little DIY writing conference, writing retreat. It's been really fun so far. I'm looking forward to tomorrow getting some more work done and also watching some other interviews and conference type things. I'll share day 2's vlog with you on Friday, but for now, if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, make sure you click the subscribe button. I post videos on Tuesdays and Fridays. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll see you next time. Bye.